I don't understand why these companies think this kind of advertising is good for them. Whenever the companies that sell consumable goods want to get into politics, especially the kind of politics that bash their customers, we are going to be here to remind them that they need us, not the other way around.
To most right-wingers and conservatives and anti-SJWs, there isn't actually a difference between leftist or liberal. They even like to lump in people like Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook and massive Silicon Valley tech corporations as part of the left and the leftist agenda, because sometimes they do stuff that conservatives don't like, and they have this image because they're in a liberal place like California that they might have more progressive social values. And people like TheQuartering and Geeks and Gamers and various other anti-SJWs seriously believe that corporations like Facebook, amongst others, are really driven by a political agenda, not by the agenda of making as much money as possible. And I guess it shows that these people don't really understand marketing and don't really understand economics. So we're going to get into how these guys misunderstand all this stuff, and how that most leftists don't like corporations adopting wokeness to trying to appeal to more customers and make people think they're good and build social capital so you don't stop buying their products, because this is all that this stuff is. These corporations don't have politics. These corporations don't care if you are woke or if you're not. They just care about making money. But there are various different ways to do this. Before we get any further, if you want to support my work, please have a look at my Patreon in the description. Next week we're going to start rolling out some benefits like a private Discord server and some other ideas I have in store. Also, check out my various social media links in the description. So TheQuartering and Geeks and Gamers literally freak out whenever a corporation does something woke, and they say it's part of the leftist agenda, it's part of the radical left taking over everything and trying to make you really believe what they believe and demonize the white straight man. And I think one of the most perfect examples of this was when Gillette rolled out an advert telling men to be better. And I'm going to play the advert for you, hopefully, if YouTube doesn't block it. But basically what it shows is various situations of men being toxic. Then it shows other men going against this type of behaviour, and then tells them to try and be better.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it? We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
But she says
And there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Smile, sweetie. Come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
Bro, not cool, not cool.
Some already are. In ways big
Yo, men, forever. Oh, shit.
and small.
I am strong.
But some is not enough.
It's not how we treat each other, okay? Okay.
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
So this advert is extremely infamous because of the reaction of anti-SJWs, but you can see why they were so mad. It's got numerous examples of, toxic masculinity and, really trying to get rid of this notion of boys will be boys, just accept the way things are. Now, on the surface, I don't necessarily have a problem with this advert. It's not like a bad message or anything. Telling men to be less toxic, telling men to stop being bad people, and then telling them to stop trying to pass it off as, a boys will be boys, something that's inherent to be a man. It's not a bad message. But the point of this video is trying to show, as a left-wing person and left-wingers in general, we don't like corporations adopting wokeness to try and stay relevant or sell their wares, because this is all that stuff like this is. You don't think they got a massive team of people working on this, talking about, the numbers it will do, talking about, the conversation it will start. And I don't know what their specific agenda is with this advert. Do they see less men who they might see as liberals not buying their products, and they're like, we must appeal to people like this, while people with right-wing values will continue buying our Gillette products despite them being against this message because they just, it's a razor and they will always buy it? Or was the whole, thinking behind this advert by the stat people that this is going to start a conversation, it's going to be very controversial, we just want people talking about Gillette, because in advertising, especially for massive corporations that don't really need much advertising, it's always good to just have your name out there and to have everyone talking about Gillette razors, because hopefully with the brainwashing that is advertising, it will stick into people's head and make them buy more Gillette products. But just like with every minor controversy, anti-SJWs are obviously freaked out, making videos saying this was an anti-male propaganda done by the left. So let's have a look at Geeks and Gamers and TheQuartering reacting to this.
So this is where we're at. We are at this point where Gillette, a company that is has a predominantly male fan base, has now said, men, you all suck. You're all terrible, terrible human beings. And I'm of the mindset that all human beings are terrible in some way. We're all flawed. So for people to get up on this soapbox and go, oh, we have to be better. We have to be better. We have to strive to be better. Knowing good and damn well that the people that are producing this are just as shitty as I am. So no, we don't have to be better. You don't have the right to tell people to be better. Maybe you need to worry about yourself, and then you let other people worry about themselves. But the projection and the virtue signaling and the white knighting it's just disgusting. Fun of you. I love exposing all of the male feminists within your company. I love it when people preach about respecting women and knowing good and damn well that they have no respect for women at all, and they're just projecting.
So Geeks and Gamers' point makes me laugh, that he thinks Gillette is just like infested with male feminists and leftists who get to direct massive advertising campaigns, that they're just pushing a political agenda. Again, these guys don't understand marketing or economics, because this isn't some leftist coup within the biggest corporations in the world. This is just a marketing team looking at what's popular, looking at the conversation on social media, and then deciding, like I said before, we should stir up a conversation to get everyone talking about Gillette, because they might play these guys and they're banking on a reaction like this to get Gillette in the headlines. Or there are people who, like I said before, they might see younger demographics, maybe people who live in more liberal cities or liberal countries, not buying Gillette products. How do we appeal to them? Let's make a woke advert. And again, I don't believe most people at Gillette believe this stuff, at the high ranks of the company. I don't believe the people who are given millions of dollars to make these advertising campaigns really care about this stuff. They're just doing their job. Their job is to get results, to get their pay. And Gillette, at the end of the day, want to make as much money as possible. So there's obviously some economic factors to why they are doing this. And like I said, leftists, real leftists, don't buy this stuff when corporations that are inherently exploitative use the language of wokeness or use the messaging of wokeness. Like I said, I've got no problem with that advert and the messaging of it. The problem is, just like with all these corporations adopting Black Lives Matter slogans and everything, it's just so fickle and so hollow, because you can just find so many examples of these companies treating their employees like garbage, so they don't actually believe these things.
I don't understand why these companies think this kind of advertising is good for them. So anyone who might be one of the millions of Gillette customers can see what they think of men, to see how little they value their customers. And then the woke brigade The woke outlets will talk about me as a toxic man baby, somebody incapable of accepting criticism. The most important thing is you sell razors. You are not a social commentary outlet. Just like Ben & Jerry's or Wizards of the Coast, whenever the companies that sell consumable goods want to get into politics, especially the kind of politics that bash their customers, we are going to be here to remind them that they need us, not the other way around.
So what I find pretty staggering there is that TheQuartering admits he doesn't understand why people at Gillette would do this. Don't they understand people like TheQuartering? People who, believe that toxic masculinity is a good thing. Don't they realise that TheQuartering is one of their best customers? And of course, in a capitalist system, these corporations exist to make as much money as possible. Like I said earlier on in the video, the people in charge of this campaign are either banking on this reaction, or they have some sort of analytics or statistics that show them that making a campaign that uses these politics is worth it for the potential new business they may get from this. And at the very least, it will cause a conversation they can use to push Gillette more. It's not like the head of marketing at Gillette, the person who made the advert, it's not like the board of Gillette, it's not like the CEO was like, I really got to say something about toxic masculinity because we're a brand that primarily appeals to men and shaving. I just can't help myself. I've got to enter politics. I've got to talk about these things. And if the profits will be hurt, if my customers will be alienated, then so be it. I have got to say something like that. Of course, these corporations do not work like that. They exist to make as much money as possible. The board oversees that. The CEO oversees that. And what the anti-SJWs don't understand, there's not some hive mind of leftism that somehow includes corporations like Gillette, Nike and Starbucks and, tech billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg from Silicon Valley, along with on-the-ground grassroots socialist movements who are all trying to push some sort of political narrative. That just doesn't exist. Like I said earlier, leftists might agree with the message because the corporations are adopting wokeness. I agree that toxic masculinity is bad. I don't fundamentally disagree with the advert. I just disagree it's a massive corporation using this to try and sell more products. And what happens in a lot of these instances is that corporations that go woke, they never really go broke. But what happens is these corporations get exposed to be hypocrites. So you guys probably remember the Kaepernick Nike campaign, right? I think it says believe in something even though you might risk losing everything. And everyone was like, oh my God, Nike is so good. Where other people started burning their Nike shoes, saying that Nike had gone woke and had betrayed everyone. Nike had not actually gone woke. The people in charge of Nike weren't like, I cannot bite my tongue any longer. Let's release statements and an ad campaign using Colin Kaepernick. Again, like I said, they have really good marketing teams. They have so much data, so much analytics. They either wanted to push this message because they believed it could increase sales, or they wanted to start a controversial conversation because companies like Nike don't need massive successful advertising campaigns because they are already so big. And it of course turned out later that Nike also do massive contributions to the GOP and people who are against Kaepernick. And need I remind people that Nike and various other clothing companies have these awful sweatshops across Africa and Asia and other poorer regions and poorer countries where they treat their employees like garbage, where they use kids to make their products, and even back home where they might be headquartered in the United States and in their Western headquarters around Europe and other places, it's not like they treat their workers amazingly or anything. They're still a massive corporation, and people who are in charge of these corporations, the billionaires, they don't get rich by playing fair. They don't get rich without exploitation. So it's just amazing to me these people will say they don't understand, especially someone like TheQuartering and Geeks and Gamers, who dedicate their whole channel to getting really outraged about why corporations, why TV shows will start using more diversity, will start adopting woke language or make woke adverts. Most of the time, it is not because they just can't help themselves. They just need to say something political. It's all about making money at the end of the day. These corporations aren't leftists, they aren't liberals, they aren't any of this stuff. They just want to make money. And the only people who like this crap, they like these stupid woke adverts trying to promote a product and make these people even richer are liberals, because as we all know, liberals are surface level. They just like the message and they will eat that up without really thinking about what is going on behind the scenes at these companies. And you've also got to ask yourself a few questions about Geeks and Gamers and TheQuartering, where they see an advert like this and it personally offends them. I mean, I watched that advert, I didn't see anything that offended me. I didn't feel like I'm in that advert with all these, awful behaviours being described, but, TheQuartering does have history there. But yeah, to conclude, anti-SJWs are extremely dumb. They're just playing to a certain audience. They just bank on this outrage culture. And the only way their videos work is if they paint a scary monolith that is taking over everything you love. And it is the leftist monolith. It is these people pushing their politics in everything. These people virtue signaling. They want to ruin everything for the sake of it. They want to put diversity in for the sake of it. They want everything to be woke. This doesn't just include people on the left who are very political. It doesn't just include leftist politicians or anything like that. It also includes giant corporations who, of course, love socialism and leftist politics. It includes these awful billionaires who, of course, love leftism and socialist politics. Of course, what most of these people do is just adopt wokeness to sell their products. And in some instances of billionaires and other rich people who might have, okay social values, they don't really have good social values because they don't support an economic system that will actually implement policies that would fit with their social values in their head. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please like the video, maybe share. Please check out my Patreon in the description if you want to find me on social media at TheQuartering on Twitter and Instagram. Also check out everything else, including my new Discord, in the description. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.